Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Business Banking at Jovia Financial Credit Union, along with Donyshia Boston Hill, CEO, keeper of the brand, marketing and digital agency.
We're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship. We bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services to help you grow your business. Plus, we interview some of the top business leaders in the industry.
And I'm very excited about today. We have somebody very cool with us. I'm very excited. Helping provide us with business empowerment today is a leader in the business, real estate, and most importantly, in the information technology field. Chen, co-owner of Team Logic I.T. Welcome to the show today, Sue.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, guys.
We're so excited. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself, just to kind of give us an idea.
Oh, that's a long one.
Yeah.
So my name is Sue. I'm one of the owners of Team Logic I.T. I was born and raised in Queens. I currently live out in Suffolk County. And like I said, with Team Logic I.T., we're a full-service information and technology company.
And now, how did you come up with the idea? What's your background as far as technology and launching Team Logic?
Well, my background, if we rewind like several years, I come from Local 3, so that was the electrical union. So back in 94, I went into an apprenticeship with Local 3 and went through the whole apprenticeship. And then once I finished the apprenticeship, I kind of decided it wasn't kind of for me just because of, I guess, a male-dominated field, and also, you know, with being a African-American woman and being in that field, a lot of times it was like a lot of discrimination and things of that nature because they didn't really want you there anyway. Wow. So, again, I went from Local 3. From Local 3, I opened up my own interior design company, and we used to do a lot of home staging. So I used to hand the property over to the realtor after I finished staging it, and then they would sell it at open house. So kind of how my mind works is, okay, they sold it at open house, so what can I do? So at that point, I said, let me get my real estate license. And back then, you can get your broker's license within a year, just as long as you had your points. So I got my broker's license, and then from there, I was doing like a one-stop shop where if you purchase your property, I would renovate the property. You will live in the property. You know, I will constantly always talk to you because once I kind of became friends with you or took you out looking at properties, I can't really discard people. So from there, you know, built that relationship, and fast forward, moving forward, my partner currently, I sold him a house 13 years ago. So that's how we kind of linked up. And back then, I think he was doing like help desk support, and he was in IT. So I always did like a lot of networking. So I said, look, if I have anybody that needs computer help, I'll definitely refer you. So, you know, we've always remain friends, you know his family and things of that nature. And then about like 2.5 years ago, you know, he was kicking around the idea about opening an IT company. He was like, look, I need a partner. I need somebody that I could trust. You know, what do you think? So then that's when we started that relationship. And
that's the thing about Sue. So she's so knowledgeable because her background, and everyone knows her. As soon as I met her, and then, you know, I mentioned she was going to be on the show, and oh yeah, everybody knows Sue. She's the queen of networking, and that's actually on your LinkedIn profile. So tell us a little bit about that.
I'll just say, I was going to say that means a lot coming from Ray.
Oh yeah,
who is like a super networker.
I see him out there all the time. Every time I'm on LinkedIn, I was like, "Where's Ray? Ray's here. Okay, Ray's here." So yeah, I'm trying to be like you when I grow up. I'm trying to be like you when I grow up.
Well, the same here.
Yeah, with networking, I have like a few passions, and you never know. Like, I'm very spiritual. So I always say God just opens doors and windows and leads you on the path, and you just have to kind of be obedient and just continue to follow what he wants you to do. So how I kind of run my life and run the business is if I'm ever in an opportunity to kind of promote somebody else or kind of bring somebody along, that's what I try to do. Because, again, coming from the construction world and then coming from like, it's interior design, that's like nice and fluffy. And then going back into like the IT world, it's, I could be that girly girl with the heels on, but then if something's going on and I see that you need help, I'm kicking off the heels and I'm going to help, because that's just how I was born and raised. My father was a brick mason. He was in the union. He never wanted me to go into the electrical union just because he knew how unions were and just how the men were in the unions. But I was happy and proud, for him to see me in the union and then see me do the different transitions during life and seeing me grow and things of that nature. But networking is always dear to my heart just because, people need help. People need assistance. And if I can help and assist somebody, I'm definitely going to do that.
Yeah, that definitely comes across.
Absolutely.
And, you've said a couple of things, you would never discard someone, and you're talking about lifting people up. And I do think that that's something that we should all listen to, because that leads to success.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Definitely.
Tell us a little bit more about your IT business and what services you offer, so we can get a kind of a full range, a full scope of what you do.
Okay, so we do pretty much everything with dealing with information technology. With Team Logic IT, I'm a part of a franchise, so we have about 250 locations across these United States, and also we have a few international offices. As far as Team Logic, we do help desk, we do managed service, we do hardware and software procurements, pretty much anything that you need, things in the cloud. So our gamut is kind of large. So just because you may have a computer or you may not have a full staff, you may need to purchase computers. So if you need to purchase computers, we can definitely help you there. If you need software, anything from Microsoft, Word, all those different programs, Adobe, again, we can help you there as well. So just because you may not need a managed service provider, meaning a day-to-day operation with your business, we can definitely step in different times of need.
And now you mentioned that this was a franchise. So what is your coverage area that you service?
Well, we're located in Valley Streams. On Long Island, we have 2 additional franchises. Sam is in East Islip, and Roger is further out east, which we always like to kind of joke that he's the grandfather because he was like the very first franchise, which, when we started back in 2004. So he was like the guinea pig where, all the programs kind of got ran through his company first, and they kind of figured out what worked, what didn't work. Again, so all 3 of us that are on Long Island, we kind of work kind of hand in hand. If anybody needs help, we pretty much help. Also, with a lot of our clients, as far as the Valley Streams office, I have clients in California. I have clients in Colorado. We do help other Team Logics with their help desk, because I've always, and when Berlin and I built the business, it was kind of when we were looking for help desk and the companies that we were going to, they really weren't fitting our needs. We said, let's build our own internal help desk. So when we did that, we kind of branched out and said, okay, with the other 250 locations, we have a help desk where we know all of Team Logic's technology, and it's better to kind of keep it under one-stop shop in a sense where we can all support one another.
And so that's so interesting, because when you look at, what's happened during the pandemic and the need for more cloud, more help desk, people just like freaking out. How did that affect your business? Did you build capacity? Did you grow? Like, what was your experience during that time?
Well, when I guess the whole pandemic kind of hit, everybody kind of had their servers and everything on-prem. So then when your clients, not really your clients, but your employees can't come to the office, then it's like, okay, how do they work? And, as far as employers, you still have to pay a salary. So a lot of people at that point were kind of scrambling, and a lot of IT companies were kind of swamped because we had so many clients, but we couldn't really fulfill the needs where we had to put people on waiting lists. But I would say, like, now it's just a matter of people putting things in the cloud. Some people still have things on-prem because, again, like me, I'm kind of a control freak and I have trust issues. So it's like, what is this cloud thing? So, you have to kind of educate people. So what's kind of perfect between my partner Verlin, Lane, and myself is we don't step on each other's toes. Like he handles like the full IT geek mode and things of that nature, where when we go into appointments and he's talking to the different clients and he's explaining technology to them, it's going over their heads, and I could just sit and watch them like, okay, they're not understanding what exactly he's saying.
The eyes are glazing over.
Exactly. They're going to sleep. So then it's my job to kind of like not dumb it down a little, because that's not the correct term. It's to put it in my terminology.
Right. Give us the layman's term.
Exactly.
Like, this is the regular
Just
novice.
a little translation.
A little, yes, indeed.
Exactly. Because again, when you say IT, some people don't even know what IT is. So I'm like, okay, information technology. When we talk about phone systems, because we do VoIP phone systems also, which is voice over IP. Again, they may not know what a VoIP is. So I was like, it's voice over IP, where it's going over like the internet and things of that nature. So it's a perfect kind of relationship because we don't step on each other's toes, where he's in his lane and I'm comfortable in my lane, and we kind of just bring it all together. Again, my expertise is construction, so like cabling, the infrastructure and everything else, that's what my domain is, that's what my home is, that's where my love is. And his is, okay, let me be the architect of your environment and see how we need to make things work more smoothly for you.
You are listening to Tara Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston Hill, and our guest today is Sue Chen, co-owner of Team Logic IT. Who is your kind of ideal client? What are the clients that you're looking for?
I would say kind of how like doctors say, like when you say, what's your ideal client? Like anybody with a pulse. So, so ours is pretty much anyone that has a computer. So Team Logic, when this company was built, we were built on a foundation of helping small to medium-sized businesses. So that's kind of where our bread and butter is. There's other IT companies that may want larger companies, but again, when you go out to too much of a large company, you kind of miss the relationship with the small mom and pops and medium-sized businesses that may not have that large budget. So our ideal client is a small to medium-sized business. If you have one computer or 1,000 computers, that's kind of like where our bread and butter is. And it's more so kind of building the relationships and growing with the business and learning all the players or all the employees and what the problem is if they need training. Because again, with some people with technology, I grew up in the 70s. So with technology, we didn't have computers back then. I think we just got our first like Apple computer and things of that nature. So some of people in my age group, they may not be comfortable with computers. So again, you may need training. So we do offer training and things of that nature as well, just to kind of help, with the workforce.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That is one of your differentiators, because I'm sure, for the layperson, it's just overwhelming. And like you, I kind of grew up in the 70s. So when you start talking computers, honestly, I get a little like hazy,
Exactly.
like, oh, what?
You remember the Commodore 64.
Yeah, exactly. Jumpman Jr. on the Commodore, I'm good. I have to turn to my daughters and say, what am I doing here? So how do you kind of differentiate yourself to some knucklehead like me?
Well, I will go back to like my local 3 days. So when I was in a union, and when you would go down to the union hall to get the job, and then they sent you to the work, to that job site, when you walk through the door and like, hey, I'm here, they'll say, okay, great. Okay, minority, like I'm that double minority, because again, I'm an African-American female, and then also an African-American, and then I'm a female. So they look at it like that, like you're that double minority. With technology, there are not a lot of people that own information technology companies that look like me or look like Verlin. There are not a lot of African-American firms out there. So that's the first thing that's going to set us a little bit different than a lot of other companies, especially with how there are a lot of government programs now where they're looking for minorities to kind of, bridge the gap, if it's with the government or if it's with hospitals and things of that nature. So that's the first thing that kind of makes us a little bit different and makes it a little bit harder with getting through the door a lot of times, because, we're that unicorn that a lot of people don't see. So that's the first thing. But I would say technology is technology. At the end of the day, everybody has technology, and it's just learning how to bridge the gap with the technology. And everybody just wants a seat at the table and also just want to help. So I would say at the end of the day, it's just getting the opportunity to be in front of the different people that we need to be in front of.
Yeah, now I'm sure there's lots of stories too. You've dealt with different businesses, like you said, one computer to 1,000. So I'm sure you've got some stories. Can you share with us maybe a story about how you went in to help with someone and it was kind of a crazy situation and you made an impact? Can you share that?
I would say with that, as far as different clients that we have, we've worked with like military bases where if it was Fort Knox, it was Fort Meade. And then, like I said, we deal with regular mom and pop. So a couple of clients like Nadira Taylor, who owns Diamond Mine Real Estate, she just moved into a space and she needed to be remote, because if she goes on vacation and things of that nature. So it's setting up a VPN for her where she's able to travel. Because again, when you're a small business owner, a lot of times all you think about is work, work, work. Yeah. And you don't get an opportunity to take the break. But then when you do take the break, and let's say you're sitting on a beach somewhere, you're still thinking about the business and how you're kind of not working the business and you kind of feel funny about it. Yeah, you feel funny about it. So to be able to help a client be able to work if they're not in the office, just like they're in the office, no matter where they are across the United States. Another client that we had, which is Cargo Tran, with Dominic, they have offices here in New York. They also have other offices in California. And he was looking for an IT provider that could help him in California as well. So we managed their day-to-day operations, and they needed help on site. So that's another aspect of having 250 locations across the United States, is that we called one of our other Team Logics that were closer to their location and said, hey, we have some printers that we need addressed. Can you go into their location and handle it? And again, it's like a brotherhood, a sisterhood in a sense, where, you're sending a Team Logic, one of your people, into the location, not another company where it's like kind of gouging and stuff. It's a familiar face, it's familiar technology, and we can always just continue to help people that way. So I would say being a part of Team Logic IT and also with the franchises with the 250 different locations, it gives us kind of not really a leg up, but it gives us more power. Because even with our buying power, if you need hardware and software procurements, again, we may be a gold standard partner for a Microsoft or a diamond partner with a Dell. So we have more buying power and we're able to pass that discount over to our clients.
Yeah, I just want to go back to one item. You mentioned, the cloud, and there's so many people who would rather things on premise. Mm-hmm. And so for those business owners out there that are just super, super protective, especially now that with all the cyber hacks that we're getting and protecting their information, how does your company go about easing their minds?
I guess it's with education on what the cloud is and what the cloud isn't, and also the protection that the cloud has. Again, with Acronis, they do like backups, in the cloud and things of that nature, and that's one of our partners. So we have several different partners that Team Logic works for, and we kind of give them that stamp of approval. Because they've been around with technology. So we always give our clients information on, okay, look, we're using, this backup system, or we're using a NAS and things of the nature, so they kind of understand what it is. Just because you have backup in a cloud, we also do redundancy. So you may have a backup in a cloud, but we may have a NAS or something else that may be on-prem that's a backup just in case something goes down. If you want to keep your information on-prem, and let's say you have a server on-prem, again, do redundancy where you have it in a cloud. Just like when it comes to Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. Some people have Verizon and maybe that's all they have, but if Verizon goes down, then your office can't work. So sometimes we offer, or we say, maybe you do Verizon and you do Optimum, or you have a backup just in case one goes down, the other one kicks in, and you're never not able to work. So I would say it's education, and also learning the different partners that we kind of work with and we have.
What would you say is the biggest misconceptions that businesses have about IT? I'm sure there's a few, but what are some of the big ones that you always see? You're like, oh, here we go.
I would say different owners or just different people in general. Again, when things go wrong in your environment, as you know, they sometimes always do, it's not that we're not trying to fix the problem, because when, let's say, if you can't work, you know, we get the phone call and like, oh my God, my computer's not working. I need help. And we're like, okay. And we're calm because there's no need for us to go to that same level that you're in. Because if we go to that same level, then nothing's going to get done.
Right.
So I always say, because we have another client, Dwayne Moore, who's with Moore National. And you know, he's a new client where he came on. I think it's going to be coming up to a year that he's been with us. And, you know, it takes a minute to learn somebody's environment, even if we're building your environment. And we just ask if you give us the time to kind of grow and kind of work out the kinks and things of the nature, and then just kind of know who we are as people. Because at the end of the day, all we have is our name, and our name is Team Logic IT, and my name is Sue, and my partner's name is Verlin. It's trying to just, again, go back to the educating your client and letting your client know that we hear them when something happens, and we're going to address it and we're going to solve the issue. And just because we may say, okay, well, let us look at it and give you a call back, doesn't mean that we're not addressing your problem. Because with technology is a tricky kind of beast in a sense. Once you have your technology running like perfectly and purring, it's going to run perfectly unless there's some type of outage or things of that nature. But give us the opportunity to figure out what the problem is, because we'll definitely figure out what the problem is, but we just need time. So if our clients give us the time, then everything's going to work perfectly.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Sue Chen, co-owner of Team Logic. My name is Donyshia Boston Hill, on the voice of Nassau Community College, along with my good friend Ray Schwetz on 90.3 WHPC.
A lot of what I'm hearing from you is a lot of what I do kind of know about you, which is a lot of your work is all based on relationship. It's getting to know the client. It's getting the client to know you. It's educating the client. And that's what I love about what you do and what you project, you know, and that's why I think partnering with you is a wonderful thing for a business. Now, I'm sure though that there's been some challenges, you know, because there's challenges everywhere. I mean, I work hybrid, so I'm remote sometimes, and you know, I'll call my friend in IT and say, hey, listen, you know, I'll send the track it, but I need this done like now. And like you said, you know, most of these things, once technology is purring along, it's pretty constant. It's any outage is going to be a very short-term thing, you know. But I'm sure, again, there's some challenges you face. So, what are some of the challenges that you've faced?
I want to say just getting in front of different people. That's one challenge, because again, with other companies that may be out here, other IT companies that are currently out here, people kind of go with what they know. And sometimes once you've been linked in with the IT company for so long, if you've been there for 5 years, of 10 years, or 15 years, it's kind of hard to kind of switch away from that IT company, because you feel that they kind of have you under lock and key. So even if you're not happy with your current IT provider, it's kind of hard for you to leave, because it's like, okay, if we leave, we don't know where we're going to. Or if we leave, you know, are we going to have the same service, or not really the same service, because we may not like that service. But how do we kind of break away from our old IT provider? So I would say that's one that we've come across with. And then with starting up with Team Logic IT Valley Streams, it was the matter of having enough techs, you know, to kind of help everybody that needs to be helped. Because like you said, when you have an IT problem, you're like, oh, look, I have an IT problem. I need it done now. You know, that's pretty much every phone call that we receive. Everyone is saying the same thing, and they want everything done like right now. So it's kind of hard sometimes to kind of service everybody, but we kind of put them on different cues of, okay, this person's first, this person's second, this person's third, and kind of work it from there.
Would you mind sharing with us your top 3 tips on IT? We know you're the queen of networking, and so that's going to definitely help you bring in new business and break down some of the barriers. But what would you say would be your top 3 tips?
The top 3 tips. Okay, so this is my wheelhouse, but I always look at Verlin at this point like, okay, answer the question. Top 3 tips. I would say definitely to have backups. Backups is going to be like a huge thing. So either if you have them on the prem or if you have them in the cloud, backup is definitely important. Another tip is if you have old technology, because some people may have computers that are very, very, not ancient.
Hopefully
but
not a Commodore 64.
Exactly. Some people have, technology that may be outdated, where you have to look at refreshing your technology, because as ransomware and everyone trying to hack you and things of that nature, if you have outdated equipment, it's not going to keep you secure. So that's another one. And one more? I would say voice over IP. Again, nowadays people are always on their cell phones. And again, if you don't want to give somebody a personal number, you can always give them a voice over IP, which is a VoIP telephone, where that can travel with you because it has an app. So you can either have the app on your cell phone, you can have it on your computer, and it can travel with you, especially if you're on vacation on a beach somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah, you can still work.
If you want to, exactly. And now, so as we're coming to a close, what would be the one thing you'd like to leave our listener with? And please also give us your contact information where people can find you.
Okay. I would just say, thank you for the opportunity for being here. Again, I would say with the listeners, if you're in any kind of business, to just make sure that you have a foundation in that business, that you find a mentor in the business. Also some support groups, which is also good. That's why I'm happy to be a part of the Urban League of Long Island and also the Long Island African American Chamber of Commerce.
2 great organizations.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of just having other people around you that are here to support you. So I would say, and do what you love, because when you do what you love, it's not like it's work.
Yep.
The best contact information, I always say, I'm kind of old school, where a lot of people say, don't give out your personal cell. My cell phone number is 718-468-6918. That's the best way to get in contact with me. Or my email is Chen, Chen, at teamlogicit.com. And I thank both of you.
Well, thank you.
Thank
it was
you.
such a pleasure hearing, your journey, and thank you for sharing. I'd like to leave you with DB's philosophy. You can and should set your own limits and clearly articulate them. This takes courage, but it is also liberating and empowering, and often earns you new respect. Rosalind Brewer.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston Hill, your co-host and producers. This is an NCC Foundation production. Visit nccradio.org for more information. We're available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeartRadio as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation and the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.